Comic book and manga fans, this is H.H. German from Sigma Comics, and we're back with another video. Today we're asking who would win in a fight, 100 men versus one gorilla. It's a question, I guess, that's popular right now, and I've seen it floating around in the zeitgeist, so I figured why not take a shot at it. I've seen a lot of really crazy opinions out there, but hey, it's the internet, and it's 2025. Before we get into that, let's tell you who we are and what we're about. Sigma Comics fights animal abuse through comics and manga. Here is our website, Sigma Comics, where you could see our wonderful products. We have these beautiful trade paperbacks here. We have our comic book series, Here Comes Calico, featuring the Calico, the ultimate defender of animals. Our first trade is called Calico Street Math. It is available on our website. 240 pages. It has the whole first run of Here Comes Calico. We have it in a collector version. We have it in a manga version on our website. We have great merch as well. And absolutely incredible Calico Morality Play. This is the second run featuring issues 9 through 14 of Here Comes Calico in this beautiful trade paperback Calico Morality Play. Book 2 featuring two legendary comic book creators, Klaus Janson, of course, who worked on the seminal Batman Dark Knight Returns with the incredible writer Frank Miller, and also the legendary writer on The Punisher and many others, Mike Baron, two-time Eisner Award winner. They're actually both Eisner Award winners, and you can get it right now on pre-order at Kickstarter.com, and there is the page. Just type in Calico or Calico Morality Play on Kickstarter.com, and you'll be able to back this wonderful series. All you have to do is hit the back this project button, and you could select any of the dozens of wonderful products there. All right, so let's get into the topic here. The topic is who's going to win this fight: 100 men versus 100 gorilla. 100 men versus one gorilla. But before I answer that, I need to take a sip of the old Calico mug. It's kind of blurred right now, but there's a Calico cat on there. It's a Calico Maine Coon. I'm not getting a good visual on it. But anyway, there is a Calico cat. And I have to take a sip. All right. Or two sips. So, the opinion out there is quite mixed. You have certain people. I tell you one thing. These people seem to be very certain about who would win this fight, and I don't know. I think a lot of what I've seen out there is pretty wild. And I should preface this by letting the audience know, those of you who are not familiar, I'm a former professional fighter from New York City. I fought professionally back in the 90s, and it was not an easy situation because it was the advent of MMA in the United States, right? So UFC, really the first UFC we ever had, was or took place in the 90s, and that's when I fought. And what did that mean? It meant that there were no rules. Okay, you were fighting huge guys. All right, it was just men, and there were no rules. Okay, it was called quite literally bare knuckle fighting, or no rules fighting, or cage fighting. They basically just threw you in a cage, and whoever was up at the end, you won, right? So I would think that's sort of like the closest thing to fighting a gorilla for one person, because you're talking about, in many cases, as happened with me, I was fighting guys that were many, many, many tens of pounds heavier than I was, right? So when I fought professionally, I was a middleweight in fighting, which was 160 pounds. I was fighting routinely guys in 200, 6'3", 6'2", 6'4", 210, 20, 50 pounds, whatever it was, and it was what it was, and that was UFC back then, right? So the promotion I fought in was called EFC, and many of the fighters, once that, there were several promotions that sort of went defunct and or were absorbed. The fighters were absorbed into the more prominent uh, promotions like the UFC. So I know for my part, people who fought in my promotion who went on to UFC were several. One of which was Pat Miletich from America Top Team. Of course, he went on to fight, and many of his fighters went on to fight in the UFC and became champions. People like, I don't know if it was Kevin Randleman or what's the other guy's name, the wrestler. Um, there's so many guys that I just can't remember their names right now. But the bottom line is that's really the only thing that we've found that could be close to, because yeah, you could say professional wrestling, but that's more entertainment. There's an entertainment aspect to professional wrestling. But when it comes down to, one person or challenges that are, there's a disparity between size and weight, as is the case here. One gorilla versus 100 men. It's an interesting question. We really haven't seen that. I'm trying to find something in history that can, properly equate, right? So I've always found in my experience that it's always important to look at history to try to guide you and at least give you some perspective when you try to approach questions for which you really have or it's difficult to find the answer, right? So I could tell you this, okay? I could tell you this. A lot of what I've seen out there in terms of opinion has been very divided. You have people on the 100 men side say, "Oh, this is going to be easy. It's just one gorilla, and 100 men. You get them together, and it's going to be a rout." Then you have the people that say, "Oh my goodness, the gorilla is so strong, and he's going to be able to just easily go in there and turn the guys into mincemeat." So here's where I am on this. Okay, the first thing I do instead of going right to the answer is, you have to do a sort of coherent analysis here, just the common sense stuff. Okay, let's look at the physical stuff. Okay, the size and strength. Gorilla, my understanding is they could pretty much haul things that are thousands of pounds. Okay, no human can do that. Not one human can do that. Now you get 100 humans together, they're going to move something. Okay, here's the problem: can they work together? Well, the big answer to that is they can. Okay, that's the key word. Can they work together? Uh, the answer is yes, they can. Will they or won't they? When you're faced with a life and death situation that's dynamic and in front of you, it's a very different thing. Okay, you can have all the plans you want, but once you get hit in the face, everything goes to what. Okay, so a gorilla once again is capable of hauling thousands of pounds by himself. Okay, just imagine this animal who weighs himself hundreds of pounds, okay, hauling something or things that weigh thousands of pounds like it was a rag doll. That's what a gorilla can do, folks. They can do that. You know who can't do that? People. Now, you get people working together and they can do quite a bit. Yes, if you get 100 people together, they can haul, you know, thousands of pounds. But they have to work together. This is not going to be a peaceful setting. This gorilla is trying to kill you, and vice versa. This is a fight. That's what a fight is. Okay, mano a mano, 100 men versus one gorilla. Okay, just based on that alone, the reality is that they can try to work as hard as they can. The problem is this is a fight, and in the middle of a fight, when you see bodies getting torn, and that's exactly what would happen, folks. A gorilla will tear you apart, and by you I mean a person. Okay, so think about this. Okay, when I'm talking about hauling thousands of pounds, that's just one thing the gorilla can do. Okay, there's several weapons here. Okay, the hauling involves the hands. Okay, the hands can grab you. Okay, and by the way, the grabbing of a gorilla just alone, their ability to grip, the tensile strength in the grip of a gorilla. Okay, who's capable of hauling his body with ease all across. the land, okay, without any problems, okay, will hold a human body and the things that it is capable of on the grip alone is terrifying. It will rip limbs off with ease, okay? Now just imagine you trying to haul yourself thousands of pounds with a group of people while this is happening. Bodies are just being ripped and torn apart. All right? That's just a grip. Now we're going to go into the bite. Okay? The torque in that bite, the tension. Okay? I mean the bone crushing power in the bite of a gorilla. That's you're talking about somebody biting into an apple. It's terrifying, the thought. Okay? You got skulls getting cracked. Okay? You're talking like, you ever see Halloween? On Halloween, you get these little candies. The little what do they call them? Like the acorn candies. They got, I think, what are they? Like yellow, white, and brown. I think those are the colors, if I'm not mistaken. Just biting into that's the head of a human being. What a gorilla could do. Just biting that like with ease, while you're trying to do something against this. Now we're talking about no weapons here. Okay, 100 men versus one gorilla. No weapons, mano a mano. Man, that's tough. All right. So from a physical aspect, presenting those things, and you want to do. I mean, is it even worth comparing what men can do? With terms of grip and biting. Come on, it's not even a mosquito bite to a gorilla. Okay. Not only do these gorillas have ridiculously tough skin, okay, that you're not going to get. You can't even do a paper cut on the skin of a gorilla with a bite of a human being. All right. It's just not even comparable, folks. From a physicality perspective, it's comical, right? Here's where I think ultimately it becomes a contest. Okay, you're talking about what people haven't mentioned, and I have not seen this argument or opinion as it relates to answering this question, the 100 men versus one gorilla, is the fact that you have 100 brains versus one brain. That's really the challenge in my view. Okay, and it's not just any brain, not just any 100 brains. We're talking about the most advanced and powerful brain on the planet, and it's not one of them; it's 100 of them. Therein lies the true challenge. Okay, you have 100 powerful brains, the most powerful on the planet. Okay, sapiens versus the brain of one gorilla. The brain of a human is dramatically bigger, more powerful, can compute much more, can process more than the average brain of a gorilla. Okay? Now, you have these 100 brains. Okay? Can they figure out a way to overpower and defeat a gorilla? I believe yes, because I don't know. I have not read studies about the psychological prowess of certain animals to overcome adversaries. Okay, I have not done that research. Okay, but there is extensive research on the capabilities of man and how they've been able to work together, collaborate. Okay, there's a word, to overcome a myriad of obstacles. Okay. Um, so, you see it in the amazing works of man by his hand, in the marvels that we see, all of the technical marvels that we see out in society, right? And it started millennia ago. You saw it in many civilizations with the construction of, buildings, and bridges, dams, all sorts of different things. People coming together and processing and doing things. Okay, and if you want to take it a step further into war, you certainly have seen brilliant tacticians on the battlefield. Uh, going back again millennia in wars. Incredible strategies. I mean, you could look at uh, incredible leaders like Genghis Khan and the formations of their units and the equipment, how to create, how to use the equipment, which again, not only creating the equipment, which is incredible, but also using it in an effective way to defeat the opponents, right? Collaboration. So I honestly, I think it comes down to which 100 men are we talking about here? And there's the other variable. Is it just 100 men off the street? Is it 100, professional fighters? That's another one I saw out there. How about if we get 100 of the best, MMA fighters, okay, in the world together against this gorilla? What happens then? Well, again, you're still left with the same, question about, are they going to work together when they see limbs getting ripped? Because they will be ripped. Okay, it's not just the gorilla's not going to sit there and let you do this, and let you plot against it. And that actually, that statement brings up a question, right? And it goes back to what I was putting forward, which is psychology. Okay, man has this incredible ability of leveraging his psychology to overcome obstacles, opponents, etc., etc. Okay, what if there's a plan that is discussed prior to the fight with these 100 men to try to bring fear to the gorilla, okay, and create such a powerful level of fear for it to be such that the gorilla is just deflated, okay, right, psychologically and emotionally, that it doesn't want to put forward the effort to defend itself, etc. Okay, we've seen in the wild that one of the things that works very well against wild animals, especially big wild animals, is sound. Okay, if you can generate enormous amount of sound, you know you can start injecting some concern up here in the smaller and more simple brain of the gorilla, right? What does that mean? Oh my goodness. And what if these uh, guys start forming, you know, some kind of vertical or horizontal mass structure in putting themselves together to make themselves appear, much bigger. Okay, uh, the height of a gorilla is right at around, I think it's under 5 feet. They're from a height perspective, they're not tall creatures, right? They're very heavy creatures. But what if a few of these guys get to they get together and they say, hey, let's use height and start sort of putting a few of us on top of each other, maybe just a couple, one guy, a few guys, and then get us all together, like everybody get a partner, whatever, and get, create this kind of, I don't know, or maybe some of them, and then have them in the forefront, and then have people on the side. However they devise the structure, is it possible for them to create some kind of, you know, human wall or sort of visual that imparts fear, right? And causes the gorilla to sort of, back up and fear, and then, be taken over by the oncoming first wave of trained fighters. Is it possible? Sure, it is. I don't think the gorilla is going to allow the these guys to hurt him that badly. But listen, when you're fearful, anytime you have something that's impacting your brain and your heart, okay, and creating this adrenaline, in some cases it could be a bad thing. It could shut you down and freeze you. I don't know if anybody in the audience has ever been in a fight, but I've been in hundreds of fights. I'm not joking. Okay, I've been in hundreds of fights on the street, in alleys, in parking lots, on fields, inside buildings, in arenas, octagons, boxing rings, and I can tell you that there there is a state that where you're so fearful that you're paralyzed. You're paralyzed with fear. This would happen to me when I was much younger. obviously, because once you become a professional, it simply doesn't happen to you. Hopefully, it doesn't, because you're in trouble if it does. But absolutely, there were times in fights where I was overcome with fear. Absolutely. And again, if you've ever been in a fight, you may have either approached that level or have had the same experience, either when as an older person or when you were younger, as it happened to me when I was a little kid when it happened to me. Of course, you overcome that with experience. Now, if we're going on that experience, right? Again, who is it? 100 random guys, some of which have never been in a fight, or is it 100 professional MMA fighters who that is their livelihood? All right, who for that is their livelihood, or excuse me, for who that is their livelihood. Excuse me. So, a wild animal like a gorilla is they're going to have the same kind of situation. They're going to be have tons of fights out in the wild, and that in their case, in many cases, it's not just gorilla against gorilla. It might be gorilla against other wild animals like chimpanzee, uh, whatever it is out there that the gorilla is going to have to fight against, right? So they're going to be pretty rugged as well. And of course, we're assuming here that this is a wild gorilla, not one has spent his entire life in captivity. We're talking about a strong, you know, powerful gorilla in the wild, right? So, this is going to be tough. All right, so I'm gonna answer it now because we're going on 20 minutes. I'm gonna hit my answer, my opinion. I think what happens is if it truly is 100 professional fighters who have experience, and here's the thing before I answer, man is a very confident animal. Okay, Sapiens, I think by now realizes that he's a very strong, capable, and confident animal, and has overcome so many things out there. With time, man becomes more capable. You know, you ask yourself, is man more capable and confident now in 2020 than he was back in the year, I don't know, 100 AD or something? I think yes, because he rests in the comfort and satisfaction of knowing that he has accomplished so much. Okay, he has tamed the land, the stars, the waters, and the oceans, etc., to do so many things, the skies. Okay, that is a confident man right there. Okay, and you get 100 of them together. So that's why I think chronologically it's an important question as well. Man's a confident animal right now, having accomplished so much to even arrive in a place in society to come and ask such a crazy question like this. Okay, wow. So I think that if 100 very talented fighters get together, they approach the situation with confidence. Some of them recognizing that they're going to die to accomplish the mission. If that's what this is, if they approach it as a very serious endeavor that must be done, I think they can do it. Okay, if they take it as some kind of joke, like 100 guys versus a gorilla, let's see what we're gonna do here. Some of them are gonna die. Okay, and in watching that situation, the rest are gonna be fuck, f this, we're out of here. Okay, so again, serious obstacle that this is 100 men that need to get past this one gorilla, and it's a mano a mano, life and death situation. I think the 100 men have the computational power in their brains to overcome the gorilla. A, by outthinking the gorilla, and B, by leveraging their minds and then physicality to find a way to defeat the gorilla in some way. Whether it might be attacking the gorilla in a certain part of their body, the animal's body, when another group of guys is holding or trying to hold the gorilla, or at least get their attention. Maybe puncture a very vital or sensitive part of the body. When it could be ears or eyes, trying different things, or what's going to be the most taxful thing, or excuse me, taxing thing on the gorilla, right? Maybe a stamina issue, whatever it is. I I think it's possible. I think the 100 men, again, capable men who are willing to die to achieve the goal. And again, these are trained men. If they're willing to die and they're serious about it, I think they can do it. I think they have the capability of defeating the gorilla. So again, and ultimately, the foundation of why I'm saying that is because of the size of the brain, the power of the brain that these 100 men have versus that one brain of the gorilla. That's my thoughts. I'm curious to hear what you think. Again, before I go, please hit our Kickstarter for Calico Morality Play. It is on Kickstarter right now. Just type in Calico and you'll see it. I'm also reading this wonderful book. I can't even, I guess it's not going to show you here. But this is the latest book by my friend and mentor, Mike Barron. He's also on the book Morality Play. This is Sherlock Holmes. It's his new Sherlock Holmes book. I think that shows it better there. Yeah. So this is a great book. It's a Sherlock Holmes Leviathan. And that was on Kickstarter. I think you could still get it on Kickstarter if I'm not mistaken. So I'm going to read this bad boy right now. So, and I recommend it to you too. So, but you know, ultimately, if something like that happens, I would side with the gorilla because a gorilla is an animal. And you know what we do? We defend animals. So I would go turncoat. I leave those guys and I try to stick up for that gorilla because I love all animals. We love all animals at Sigma Comics. And frankly, there really is no reason to go attacking a gorilla. I think it's a silly, preposterous, question. I think it's a situation where if it was a life and death situation and it was an emergency where you had to, figure out a way to get past the gorilla, something like that. That's really the only way you should be going up against, any kind of animal, especially, an innocent, all animals are innocent, they wouldn't think up, hey, who would win? 100, 100 guys or me or whatever, this is a human thing. So anyway, that's my sentiment on this. Keep on fighting for animals.